Sylvester Chisholm here, your host of the Global CTE Podcast. We are closing out 2025, and I wanted to offer you my top five for 2025. My top five for 2025, some of my favorite clips here. But before I get into that, I really just want to offer gratitude for all my guests, all my listeners. This podcast platform, the Global CTE Podcast, has really turned into a relationship generating platform, originating platform. So many great stories that I receive in my DMs or emails of, hey, Sylvester, this person and I connected after watching your podcast, from state leaders to employers to nonprofit leaders to CTE directors to superintendents. The voice of the podcast this year has gotten stronger, bolder, more influential, expanded the global reach. This year, we reached some meaningful milestones. We're in the top 30% of video podcasts on Spotify. Our audience grew by over 370% year over year growth. We had listeners on a regular basis tuning in from UAE to Finland to Canada to countries in Africa, Botswana, Kenya, to Austria were some of our top places where we had listeners. We also launched a special series this year, Excellence on Work-Based Learning. That was an amazing series that we had. Grateful for my guest who showed up there, Dr. TJ, Jason, my friend Christy. So like so many great leaders shared their knowledge, and I'm just beyond grateful for that and grateful for all the listeners. So we also launched for the first time for Black History Month, Black and CTE. We had some phenomenal guests there sharing from Tremaine Holloway. Grateful for his contribution coming from Harvard. Um, we also had Dr. Ian Buchanan, who's a phenomenal leader of educators, as well as going all the way to Kenya with Magaga Enos and his group of leaders that joined us from Kenya and from Beads, working on STEM and CTE, great things that they're doing there in the country, across the country of Kenya. So let's jump right into it, honestly, with the top five. Okay. Normally people will start and work backwards, but I'm actually I want to start with on a very high note and share my personal favorite clip. There's so many great ones. I love to know which ones were your favorites. Feel free to email me, drop a message in the chat, or DM me. Either way, let me know what were your favorite episodes. But this clip stuck with me all year, and I want to share it with you. It was from Tremaine Holloway. He was the founding principal of the Maritime High School in Seattle, and now is currently a doctoral candidate at Harvard Graduate School of Education. So I'll play this clip and just let's just enjoy this moment. Enjoy this moment together. Let me pull it up here. If you're watching on video, you can actually see the clip that I'm playing here. All right, let's check it out together. One, two, three. Can we play? Community as a learning lab. Let Tremaine take it away from here.
Where's the two-way passing with that? How is the student being a contributor to the learning environment as well? And so I've always just had the philosophy and mindset of we got to start viewing schools as not just as community hubs, but we also got to view the community as a learning laboratory. And what I mean by that is having the cross-sector collaborations that can you leverage the organizations that are in the community, and how are they feeding into the schools, while at the same time, how are they being utilized as a hub for learning, as a hub for career trajectory, as a hub for opportunity. I think if we really begin to continue to, or we really got to start reimagining what that looks like. It can't be so traditionalized, right? One of my reasons for wanting to start Maritime High School was because I got tired of the status quo, right? I got tired of the traditional way we did schools. I got tired of how we reduced students to letters and numbers. I really thinking about them and how their real brilliance can be categorized, right? I also got tired of the fact that, folks who were looking like me or other Black and brown children that were out there weren't exposed to the same level of access of opportunities in a field like the maritime industry. And so I wanted to be the caveat that really connected students who needed power to those who have power.
Yeah, I absolutely love everything Tremaine shared there as we think about the community. That cross-sector collaboration is key, from industry, business to hands-on experiences. But think of the learning opportunities as you go into the new year, into 2026. How can you reimagine your community as a learning lab beyond the four walls of the school? So again, like I said, that was my favorite clip. I found myself, if you saw me at speaking engagements this year, that was one I was sharing quite frequently. Think about the community as a learning lab. I shared that with all my friends. Episode 61. I encourage you to check out the full episode with Tremaine Holloway, a true thought leader, brilliant person, as he's finishing his doctorate degree at Harvard. All right, so let's move on. I'm gonna go to, let's see, this was a big one for me. Actually, I want to talk a little about leadership. I really enjoyed this. This was from our Work Excellence and Work-Based Learning series with Dr. TJ Very. He shared some great insights. He also has a new book that's coming out. Maybe we'll get him on the podcast to talk about that this year. But this is about, for all my leaders who are true listeners here. I know our audience is full of superintendents, CTE directors, education leaders, ed tech folk, but think about how you can reclaim some time as a leader. This is very critical that he shared here. Let's pull this up. Reclaiming Time Leadership from Dr. TJ Very, and this is episode 59. Let's check it out. Press play.
There's a conversation to be had about the fact that educators are very altruistic people, and so we want to help people. And so you get one minuted to death all day long by people who say, can I have a minute? Can I have a minute? Can I have a minute? And the school leader typically says, sure. And they say, I have an open door policy. And so their door is always open and they're always getting stopped in the hallway. Couple tips and tactics. One, an open door policy should be on a timeline. Like, your open door is from when to when, because sometimes you got to close your door and do stuff. That's first tip. Second tip is, when somebody asks you if you can give them a minute and they tell you what they need some help with, you should always ask two questions. And first is, does this need to happen now? And am I the right person to do it? And the answer invariably for school leaders, assistant principals, and principals is no and no. Lots of people, they go to the top. This was something I learned in restaurant management. Anytime something goes wrong at the table, they say, I didn't see the manager. And it's not always the manager who can solve that problem, right? Like, typically there's somebody else who can solve that problem. And so we've got to build cultures in schools where principals and assistant principals have lots of other people, main office people, support people who can solve problems. And we need to train people that the principal's not the person you stop in the hallway, because where are they going? Typically, they get stopped where they're going to the most important spaces in our schools, which is the classroom. And so that's the last kind of thing I'll say about it is, we've got to get to a time when our school leaders are spending a good amount of time, I won't say all of their time, but a good amount of time in classrooms. And when we train school leaders on our models, including time blocking and reverse time blocking and then feedback structures that we train school leaders on, we teach them that your day is not going to be a 7-hour, 8-hour day as a school leader. It's typically longer than that, but you get that much time with students. So to be an instructional leader, you have to be in a classroom and you have to be there when the teachers are teaching, and that means the students are in that classroom too.
All right. Yes, Dr. TJ Very. I challenge you to watch episode 59 as you go back into the school year as we begin. Think about that open door policy. That open door has to be on the timeline so you protect your time and stay focused as a leader. He dropped so many great strategies as it relates to leadership, yeah, in this space. Yeah, one of my favorites, and grateful for him. He actually invited me to join his podcast where we talked about the future of career and tech education. All right, I think, let's see. Okay, Dr. TJ Very, we're moving around. Okay, I wanted to share one of my favorite clips that I really enjoyed, from a perspective of how are we teaching our students to advocate, to self-advocate, right? To speak up for themselves, to fight for the right things. And there's no greater person than Dr. Kimberly Neal Branham. I mean, just awesome. She's the founder of Believe Academy. They have schools, charter schools in St. Louis, Missouri, and in Indianapolis. The pathways are incredible. The work that they're doing with getting students into the workforce, with those family sustaining wages. Her entire team is just incredible. Truly a model to look and learn from, the work that Believe Academy is doing, and that Kim is leading. So let's pull up the clip here. Talk to me about how you try to instill that autonomy and agency in your students.
I did a PD with a colleague named Jadon recently, and she talked about fight language. One of the fight languages are, some people are like conflict avoidant, some people are like looking for conflict, and some people welcome it. They're like, hey, if it drops on my step, I'm gonna deal with it. I think our kids right now are being socialized to look for it and be starting conflict. I want them to start conflict for good. I want them to recognize that if we are going to fight for something, which I think that's just where we are right now, let's fight together for the right things. And I'm really trying to ride that way with our students and making sure that they are skilled up and confident enough to speak about the things that matter to us as a culture, and not be rooted in like individuality or simplicity of like, let's fight over what we see it on TikTok or Instagram and social media, and let's fight together to close this wealth gap and to close the academic achievement gap. And so that's what we try to instill in our kids. And some of the things that we do is like, we're just real conscious with, we got to be real careful what I say on a recorded podcast. We're real conscious with our students about how we talk about where we come from in service of where we're going. That's as provocative as my representatives tell me I should get right now.
I love it. A true leader who is pushing the envelope. I definitely encourage you to watch her episode. That was episode 62, with Kimberly Neal Branham. I mean, like, just a true innovator in the space, especially with the charter, the work that charters are doing. I mean, she's really on a path to make an extraordinary impact, year over year is what they're doing. All right, so let's move on. This is something I thought, the community partnership here, the collaboration that we had, that's happening in Charlotte. I had Greg Schermbeck on. He's the founder of Schermco. And in this particular clip, we're talking about pathways from school to employment. And I just really appreciated the work that is happening from education to the internships. that he's helped to bring in with his organization with strategic insights, working with the Charlotte's education to employment program. So let's pull it up and let Greg take it away. He also has an awesome podcast. I encourage you to take a look at as well, the Square Pizza Pod. And pull this one up here. All right, pathways from school to employment. Let's take a listen.
So many opportunities. Luckily, the city's been really strategic for many years and have had like a number of really powerful youth programs that they already operate. So they have a group called or a program called the Mayor's Youth Employment Program, which is a summer paid internship. But with the connectivity and the launch of this office, they recently started a program called Education to Employment, which is for juniors and seniors in high school that get access to paid internships through the city of Charlotte. And then, so they're paid. It's either after school or during the summer, et cetera, et cetera. Those kids graduate high school, and then assuming everything goes well, they're offered full-time benefits, somewhere between $35,000 to $45,000 a year, full-time apprenticeship jobs within the city. And they've done a really nice job. You know, like I said, I grew up playing sports. I think you did too, but they did like a big signing day where they put on the city of Charlotte hats. They signed their contract. They had the press release. They had like the press and everything else. So it was really good. And the kids feel obviously celebrated, and they have like real big jobs one day after graduating high school. So that program will continue to grow in a number of different areas. And I think while also introducing additional data in terms of in-demand industries and jobs bands, we're then able to help influence the local school system to either make sure, one, curriculum changes and opportunity changes, whether it's in CTE or something else, but that there's just one, clear awareness, and two, pipelines of that awareness to get from high school graduation to job or high school graduation to community college or four-year college or something else. But I think probably what you've seen or what others have seen in the CTE space is just like the lack of awareness and the lack of opportunity. So if we can solve for creating more awareness, and if we can solve for creating more very clear pathways to opportunity, those two things and strategies connected, I think will go a really long way for a lot of supports, both on the student side and also the young adult side.
All right. Yeah, I mean, Greg I just had to tell you, the work he's doing. We worked with him in Shermco, with the Show Me the World project, and really influential as it relates to putting together a strategic plan that will be enduring, and with the right milestone, the markers, the right feedback. A phenomenal organization that he's leading, in the work, as you can see, the work that he's helping support there in Charlotte with the Charlotte Education to Employment Program. That was from episode 65. I definitely encourage you to check out Greg Schoenbeck's episode. Now that's 4 clips I just shared. Again, let me know what were your top moments of the year from the podcast, ones that stood out to you, the guests that stood out to you, any insights, any takeaways. I really want to understand that feedback at a high level. I know I've received emails and DMs, and those that have my number, text messages about the pod, as episodes are released, but I really would like to know how these are landing. Now let's go to this one. Really, if you want an episode that will make you cry, I tell you, oh my goodness. My friend Magaga Enos from Beads Education. We talked a lot there in Kenya. Magaga is one of works with the 100 organization, which celebrates the top 100 education organizations around the world, and he's the Kenya lead for that, doing phenomenal work actually with Beads for Education, who work with STEM and girls. And I was just so impressed by his work, his leadership. As we were planning the episode, I just wanted to have him on, and then Magaga's like, just a little insight. He's like, well, what if I brought a couple of my students, I'm like, man, that would be incredible. So I had no idea who he was bringing to the show, but he brought two amazing young leaders, Tatiana Bella, who is currently a student at the Technical University of Kenya, and then he also, like, if that wasn't enough with just Tatiana, he also brought in another great young leader, Miss Rebecca. Like, and Miss Rebecca, she's both of them are like in college doing their thing, um, which may seem like a normal thing for US, but the community that they come from, uh, a lot of the girls around, they don't go to high school, right? They don't go to high school, they don't go to college, right? And so for the work that they're doing, the work they're studying, the things they're doing is really incredible, from climate change, studying that to you know aviation. They inspire me so much. Almost really, it's like people told me, like, hey, I was tearing up as I was listening to the girls talk about the work that they're doing. But this particular clip is from Tatiana, who I want to share. The student innovation aspect, as we think about how we create experiences for our students, how we create that community as a learning lab. This is a wonderful example of how they built solar ovens using locally available materials in Kenya, that actually provided a sustainable alternative to firewood and reduced, like, the deforestation in their Maasai communities, right? So this is a student innovation that they led that actually was moved into action. So I would love for you to hear it directly from one of the young ladies who worked on this project, Miss Tatiana Bella. Let's pull this up. All right, here we go.
The solar oven that Magaga just talked about, you were very influential in working on that solar oven project. I want to hear from your perspective as a student who worked on it. Talk to me.
Other students also build like an oven that can be an alternative of firewood, because as Magaga said, the people in our community mostly cooked their food with firewood, and that involved cutting down of trees. So the solar oven, we make it from just simple materials that we could find around, and we managed to make the ovens and we shared them to the community, and they were so glad. Actually, what I'm very grateful is, beads, when Debbie was establishing beads, she built it somewhere close to the community, so you can always find an opportunity to look at what problem is in the community and actually solve it. So when we made the several solar ovens, we shared it among our parents and the community leaders and everyone around, and they loved the idea of it. And a lot of people in the community are now using solar oven.
So the possibilities for our students to innovate on real community problems is available. It's available in every community, and it doesn't have to be in Kenya and a solar oven, but just use that as inspiration. That inspired me so much to double down on real world experiential learning opportunities for our students, and my belief that really is the key, the connection between learning by doing and the community as a learning lab. I really thought this would be probably my most powerful clip to close on for my top 5 for 2025. But we're going into 2026. So I do have one bonus clip that I want to share. And this one actually came from our excellence in workforce development with, just a true powerhouse. My man Jason Venus, like He's probably one of my favorite people to follow on LinkedIn. He's so productive as well as consistent with his content production. His voice is needed and necessary in the space. A true leader in the work-based learning space. But what we talked about that stuck with me was a clip around social capital, right? And how we think about social capital as it relates to the internships, apprenticeships, or the opportunities as we think about overcoming any barriers and achieving that economic upward mobility. He told me most jobs actually start, and this is something for you to think about. Think about all the jobs that you have. How many did you just directly apply to without knowing anybody, and you actually got the job? So most jobs actually start with some social capital, with some introduction. Hey, my job's hiring. Or hey, I know this person over here that's the hiring manager for this, or we could get you an internship in here, or my brother does this, my friend from my place of worship does this. Like, there's some social capital there. And so if you have that already, then that's great. But thinking about ways that we can build social capital for students is something that we should probably talk a lot more about. And when he shared this with me on this was episode 58, quite some time ago, it really stood out to me, and it's something that I've been evangelizing and talking more, as well as learning more and being more intentional about. It's not just an internship or interaction when you get adults around students, but think about, like, okay, well, now that kid knows the owner of that coffee shop, or that kid knows the director of marketing for that company, or how we can leverage opportunities, having our students with their LinkedIn pages and building relationships early before they actually may need them, or how you think about this working with your programs, the internships that you do offer, the apprenticeships that you do offer. Anyway, let's jump into it, because this one really had me excited, a big insight. So we're talking about social capital and talking about social capital and work-based learning. All right, Jason, take it away.
How do you vision work-based learning programs helping to create that equity that we need, that ends up with that level of economic upward mobility, maybe people from under-resourced communities?
Yeah, I mean, it is. So one of my and I learned this term. You mentioned at ACTE. I learned this term. I've been calling it something else, but the term social capital, right? People like, my background, my dad was a pastor. I'm used to knowing connections and knowing people and meeting people, and I have the ability to network, right? I didn't have the social capital, meaning the relationships to leverage that someone maybe from a doctor or a lawyer's family would have, right? Meaning that 70 to 80% of jobs obtained in the professional sector, Sylvester, start with social capital. Meaning, I want to come work in your school district, and I'm like, hey, Sylvester, I'm going to move to St. Louis. I don't know anybody there. Can you go put in a good word? And you're going to take my resume, you're going to walk down the hall to your buddy and say, this dude's legit, you need to hire him. Then I get an interview, then I get a job, right? I'm not saying that your influence made me a job. I can jump the whole obstacle of the resume pile. I can use social capital to get seen and then use my skills to get the job, because the majority of jobs that are received or offered always on what you know, but who you know, right? That gets you in the door. What you know gets you the job, but who you know gets you in the door. Work-based learning is blind to that, because it's my job to advocate for that student. It's my job to go out there and build those relationships. It's my job to go out there and identify and nurture and build the apprenticeship model or those internship models and put that student in a position to succeed, and then help them keep that job, and then show them what the options are after they graduate. So that's to me is the biggest equity piece inside of work-based learning. Is it pushes past the most formidable barriers that these students from under-resourced communities have, is they don't have the social capital.
There it is. As we go into 2026, social capital. How are we creating those opportunities for our students, for our community, that we can create that viral loop of early introductions, internships, apprenticeships that could lead directly to that employment pathway in our communities through the relationships that we have and the ones that we're offering to maybe some of our students who do not naturally have those that social capital in their networks. This is a big part of creating that economic upward mobility. This is a big part of us um, making the impact that we desire to make, not just with the knowledge. We need the knowledge for the career pathways, but we also need the relationships and the connections so that as we all do those things together, our community becomes stronger, our economy becomes stronger, um, and our education system really can be that economic driver that it should be, supporting the workforce, supporting our community, supporting innovation, and preparing our youth for what's next. So listen, 2026 is going to be amazing. These were some of my top 5. Those are my top 5 clips, plus that one bonus on social capital with Jason. Thank you again for listening to the podcast. I appreciate all of your support. So many great things to come for 2026. More great episodes, more great series. We're dropping the book, The Future of CTE, is coming. So we're working on that now. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And I will see you in 2026. Happy New Year.